All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining us during the Lytham Partners Spring 2022 Investor Conference. My name is Robert Blum, Managing Partner of Lytham Partners, and during this presentation, we welcome INVO Bioscience, ticker symbol of INVO on the NASDAQ, and their Chief Executive Officer, Steve Shum. Before I turn it over to Steve, I just want to remind everyone that management is available for one-on-one meetings later this week. If you have not already signed up and would like to do so, you can send me an email. That's bloom@lythampartners.com, or visit the website, lythampartners.com/virtual. Click on the one-on-one meeting request button, and we will look to get you taken care of. So with that said, let me turn the presentation over to Steve Shum. Steve, please proceed.
Great. Thank you, Robert, and welcome, everyone. I'm going to share my screen here so we can go through our corporate investor presentation deck. So let me just start by quickly reminding everyone about standard safe harbor statement regarding any forward-looking statements we'll be making during this presentation. Let me start by saying INVO Bioscience, we are a commercial stage fertility company with a primary goal to expand access to treatment utilizing our patented medical device, which we call the Invocel. This Invocel device enables an alternative procedure method called IVC for treating patients suffering with infertility. Let me start by covering several important points to note. First, the fertility market is a global multi-billion-dollar industry today and growing at a fairly quick pace. However, there remains a very large underserved patient population out there that go untreated each year, including right here in the US market. Many estimates suggest we're only treating around 10 to 15% of the patients in need of advanced fertility care. And that dynamic is even worse in many other parts of the world. Globally, estimates suggest there are close to 150 million patients in need, yet we are only performing approximately 2.5 million IVF cycles each year and around 300,000 here in the US. So again, a very large, significant unmet market opportunity. Our Invocel device, which has been cleared by the FDA, is a technology that we believe is ideally suited to help really address some of the key industry challenges that really go into this large underserved patient market. And we are in the commercialization phase. We believe we have a very unique go-to-market approach with our commercialization effort, using both standard distribution, essentially selling our device to existing clinics, as well as we are in the process of opening dedicated INVO centers, and we have our first 3 up and running now. So our goal at INVO is really to help democratize the industry, again, for that large underserved patient market by producing quality outcomes or success rates comparable to conventional IVF and at a more affordable price. And with our technology efficiencies, the ability to treat more patients with less resources. Again, all in order to increase access and make advanced fertility more inclusive for all. Again, our key objective here is to address the significantly underserved or unmet market need. I already went through a couple of these statistics. The key point here is that when you look at the volume of potential patients that are in need of care relative to the current volume of treatment cycles that are occurring, you can see there's a substantial gap that exists out there in the marketplace. Our Invocel technology is a medical grade small plastic device comprised of 2 parts, an inner vessel designed to hold eggs and sperm, and an outer chamber that seals and holds that inner vessel. The device, provides an alternative to advanced fertility treatment, which is referred to as IVC. I'm sure many of you have heard or are familiar with in vitro fertilization, or IVF. With IVF, eggs and sperm are combined in a dish and then placed in a laboratory incubator for a period of 3 to 5 days for the process of fertilization and what we call early embryo development. The Invocel device offers an alternative procedure method compared to conventional IVF. It's an intravaginal culture device. And essentially what happens here is the eggs and sperm are placed in our device, and the device is then placed inside the patient's body during that 3 to 5 day period for fertilization and early embryo development. So rather than within a laboratory incubator, which is the case with conventional IVF, with Invocel, think of our device as a mini incubator that replaces that sophisticated lab incubator, which helps to reduce the need for added lab equipment and resources, provides a natural and stable incubation environment, and also offers the patient a more connected experience. Of course, patient outcomes or success rates are extremely important to patients seeking fertility care and a key metric for the industry. When comparing both our original FDA clearance for a 3-day incubation period as well as the real market usage data for 5-day incubation, which is how many of our current practitioners use our device today, we have demonstrated excellent success rates, and especially so when you factor the often lower patient costs associated with our technology. As I mentioned, many of the existing clinics offering Invocel today, including our newly operational Invo centers, are doing so at a more affordable price to the patient than typically found with conventional IVF. And it's really those lab efficiencies and ability to treat more patients with similar resources is a key driver. Again, when you're essentially able to eliminate the need for those lab incubators, we can create a lot of efficiencies within the lab. We do often see our providers utilizing a more streamlined procedure by way of lower drug stimulation, which does help reduce the cost for medication and added patient monitoring. So that can be another factor in also helping to bring costs down for the patient. So as a result of these dynamics, we believe we're really helping to address those key industry challenges that limit the ability to providing enough access and care to the underserved. And really those two items are patient affordability, and from an industry standpoint, just simply capacity. And it's really on the capacity front, it's both an infrastructure and people resource issue. And we really need to find ways as the industry to drive efficiencies. And again, this is really something we believe the Invocel technology, which facilitates this IVC process, can really help provide. And addressing those challenges really does create a substantial opportunity with respect to patient demand. We've seen independent studies here in the US that suggest that if we could solve cost or affordability for patients, we would likely trigger a meaningful increase in demand for service and really potentially lead to a multi-billion-dollar increase in the industry. And that's just the US market. That similar dynamic exists in many other parts of the world. But again, this is where innovative technology solutions that can address efficiencies and capacity and in turn drive costs down, like what we believe is the case with Invocel, will be critical to being able to realize this opportunity. So to recap the technology and its advantages, we have high quality equivalent success rates as demonstrated by our early clinical work, as well as the real world usage data that's out there. And by the way, when those success rates are measured against the patient cost, we believe we have an industry leading cost per outcome metric, an important measure in today's healthcare. We would note that as usage increases, our real world validation continues to expand, which also helps further drive overall confidence in our solution. We certainly enable a more streamlined procedure, which we believe helps add capacity to the industry, another critical need, which helps improve accessibility. From a patient standpoint, we believe it's more natural and emotionally connecting for the patient. And we do think we can help reduce the risk of lab mistakes with the way our procedure is administered. So on the commercialization front, our channel strategy is very much focused on establishing new INVO center clinics. These are centers that are dedicated, are new medical practices that are dedicated to offering just Invocel as the primary advanced treatment option. As well as, another part of our commercial approach is selling the Invocel technology to other existing fertility clinics. This is something we refer to as our distribution business. And longer term, as we, work through important details, we're going to focus on how also figuring out how to leverage the existing established clinics within the OBGYN arena and help bring our Invocel treatment solution into those practices in a collaborative manner. So on the INVO centers, again, as I mentioned, this is very much a key part of our commercial approach. Late last year, we successfully opened our first 3 INVO centers, 2 here in the US market in Birmingham, Alabama, and Atlanta, Georgia, and 1 in Mexico and Monterrey, Mexico. Without question, these openings represented a major milestone for the company, and a tremendous amount of work went into this effort from our team. In each center, we formed a partnership with the physician who manages and operates the centers. All 3 centers are now treating patients, and we've seen positive trends developing in terms of patient consultations and general awareness. And we believe this effort will be extremely beneficial to the overall development, patient awareness, and adoption of Invocel by having these dedicated centers. We believe there's also a number of advantages to an INVO center, both in terms of upfront cost to establish, but it also as a result of the treatment efficiencies I mentioned earlier with the technology. We believe these centers have better scalability than is often found in existing clinics. We believe we've gained a great deal of experience with the opening of our initial centers, and we intend to apply that knowledge toward our forward planning and analysis. From a high-level perspective, we have set a goal of 20 INVO centers over the next 3 years. We can certainly see ways to expand that as well as we recognize challenges that could impede that progress, but this is our current objective, and we will update along the way as we move this process along. There's a number of important steps involved in opening an INVO center. We've made a decision as we move forward here to really work on these activities in parallel. So we're moving more towards a parallel strategy on these necessary steps rather than doing them sequentially. The goal here is to improve timelines as well as help offset some of the challenges in the supply chain that have slowed a number of areas. So this implies we're also taking the lead or more control over the entire process of preparing a new center compared to our initial 3 centers. We are also very much taking a data-centric approach towards selecting new markets. This involves both quantitative and qualitative data when analyzing a potential region or particular city to establish a new center. This is an important part of our process. Near term, we've announced plans for a Northern California center, and we recently announced plans for a center in Tampa, Florida. And we also expect to announce some additional cities we intend to start the process on very soon. So again, as you can see, we have 3 existing operating centers. We have the 2 that we've already announced. And again, we have a couple other targets we're zeroing in on. We have created an initial list of over 20 cities that we think are prime targets, and that's going to be our initial focus. On the startup costs, we believe the upfront cost will average around $700,000 to bring an INVO center operational. We also now expect the capital needed to support the clinic operations before reaching a break-even point will range between $300,000 to $500,000, depending on the specific structure with the physician operators at each clinic. We expect it will probably take approximately 6 to 8 months to build a new center and be ready to open the doors. When looking at individual new center and how we expect it to ramp, we've also set a 3-year goal for each individual INVO center to reach an approximate 600 annualized treatment cycle run rate per year. Doing so should equate to a single center annual revenue of approximately $4.5 million by that point, and around $1.5 million in operating profit. And again, this is the goal for each center. Of course, each center will vary, but we expect this to be the average. So going back to, from a big picture standpoint on 20 centers, when they all reach that initial target level, that could imply roughly a $90 million revenue run rate and approximately $30 million in operating profit. I would note that since we expect most of these to be joint ventures or shared profit interests with the physician operators, there will be a sharing of a portion of this operating profit. Of course, we will look to further grow each center beyond these initial target levels, and we do not intend to stop at 20 centers longer term. Also, as this plan evolves, and if we can successfully collaborate with the existing infrastructure out there, we could accelerate this plan, develop some additional ways in which to expand, as well as potentially drive down the startup costs. We will work towards that as a goal as well. And again, we realize here we're giving a large multi-year big picture perspective, but we feel it's important that the shareholders understand how we're thinking and what we want to try to achieve over time. Of course, this is not the only part of our commercial approach. As I mentioned earlier, we are also working to expand our distribution activities, which is selling to existing established clinics, as we see the existing IVF clinic market as an important channel, and we intend to fully support that part of the market as well. On the regulatory or clinical front, we are actively seeking to expand our product labeling. Our original FDA clearance was based on a 3-day incubation period, and that is what our product is labeled for and marketed under currently. However, as I mentioned, many of our current practitioners are doing 5-day transfers. So it's important that we expand our actual product labeling to encompass that 5-day incubation period. This will be done through a 510(k) process. We had previously designed a small prospective study in the beginning of 2020, but recruitment and generally moving that forward was severely impacted by COVID. However, over time, the additional real-world usage data that has become more available has afforded us an opportunity to pursue this label expansion utilizing that retrospective real market usage data that's out there. We're pretty optimistic in this approach. It has taken us a fair bit longer to collect all that necessary data to support the submission, but we believe we're largely through that data collection process, and we'll look to provide updates in the very near future here. Last week, we reported our 2021 year-end results. Our revenue performance was largely based on our distribution business, selling the device to our distributors who in turn sell to existing clinics, as well as licensing revenue. In fact, revenue was significantly impacted by licensing revenue as a result of at the end of the year, or we actually at the end of the year, the termination of our distribution agreement we had in place with Ferring Pharmaceuticals. We accelerated the recognition of some previous licensing revenue for last year. The INVO Center activities really just began in the fourth quarter, so there was some impact in the fourth quarter with the newly formed INVO Center activities, and we would expect those activities to become much more impactful as we move into this year. Excluding non-cash charges related to equity-based expenses and the amortization of the convertible debt discount for last year, we had an adjusted EBITDA loss of approximately $2.8 million for last year. Again, that was consistent with our internal plan. as we did add to our infrastructure in 2021 in order to execute on our strategic initiatives. We also closed the year with approximately $5.7 million in cash. We have approximately 12.1 million shares outstanding and approximately 13.4 million fully diluted, assuming convertible debt. Actually, our convertible debt, I apologize, recently did fully convert by year end. So it's really just the fully diluted shares, just include our warrants that are outstanding, as well as our options. Just to do a quick recap here, we are in a large multi-billion-dollar global growing market. There is a very significant underserved or unmet market need. Our device is approved and gaining traction and awareness along with growing validation. We believe our technology could be key to helping to solve some of the really big challenges out there for the industry and helping to open up access for this large underserved patient market. We think our INVO Center strategy will really be an accelerator to that. And again, if you think back to one of the earlier slides about the potential opportunity for being able to open up access and bring costs down and provide more capacity for this industry, it's just the expansion. For us, this is not about trying to take market share away from the existing market. For us, this is about providing additional capacity and treating the unmet patients. And that expansion alone is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. I would say our INVO team is incredibly excited as we look ahead. We appreciate you taking the time to hear our story today. Robert, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, perfect, Steve. Thank you very much for running through the presentation there. Greatly appreciate it. Again, I'll just I'll remind everyone, if you'd like to arrange a one-on-one meeting with Steve and other members of management here, reach out to me, Blum@lythampartners.com, or visit the website, click on the meeting request button, and we will look to get you taken care of. So we hope you all enjoy the conference. Steve, again, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate everybody's time as well.